Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show, Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast, a podcast to spotlight world class Asian entrepreneurs, C suite executives, innovators, and allies who provide insights from their personal journey to inspire you. And this is your host, Priyanka Komla. Well, I have such amazing news to share with you. This is our milestone episode 75 of Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast. And I'm so grateful to each one of you for making the show what it is today. So do continue to remember to subscribe to us on YouTube as well as on LinkedIn, Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast page, as well as me, Priyanka Kumla, to get your LinkedIn live notifications, as well as our upcoming episodes where you can find it on YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever you are on the go. Well, having said that, you can see this amazing guy on your screen. I'm going to introduce him in a quick second. Nader Mowlaee. Hi, Nader. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. Thanks for having me.
It's such an amazing pleasure to get to know you. And I've known Nader for quite some time. And I felt here is this amazing ally who is sharing a lot of interesting wisdom on different aspects of life. And I felt he's living his dream life of being happy. So why not bring him on board to help us understand how can we be the happiest version of ourselves? What do you think, Nader?
Great way to start this episode. Again, thank you so much for setting up this conversation. Thanks everyone for being here, for tuning in, for listening in. And I'll tell you this, right? I actually don't shoot for happiness. I aim for inner peace, contentment, because I believe peace and contentment is a precursor to happiness. Because sometimes we aim for happiness and we overshoot, or we haven't yet built the right foundation. We feel like we're happy. We feel like, oh, if I'm successful in my career, if I'm making good money, if I'm in a good relationship, we attach happiness to external sources, external achievements. However, if you bring it back in, there could still be a void inside us. And recently I've been sharing some posts on LinkedIn that kind of like tells my story of how I fell into that trap, into that like bear trap that almost took my life away, right? But right. Recently, I've learned that if I just focus on me and myself inside, first of all, it's not a selfish thing to do if we develop ourselves from within, but it's actually necessary to develop that inner peace and lay the right foundation for describing and understanding happiness so that one day we can reach it.
That's awesome. And thanks for redefining happiness for us, because a lot of us look at happiness as something that's attached to materialistic possessions, emotional attachments, but we always don't look inward for our answers. And I'm super duper excited to delve deeper into different aspects of our journey as well as life. So to our listeners, two important things which will help you understand why you need to continue listening to this episode. One, we're going to help you in this journey to educate, encourage, and empower you to become the happiest version of yourself. So you'll have some key takeaways on those lines. We'll also get some insights as an engineer, as a scientist, in these hard-pressed COVID times. What are some job search strategies to put yourself out there without wasting your time? So two important key things that we'll delve deeper into. But Nader, let me start with this. You moved from Iran to Canada to the US. When you look back at your journey as an immigrant, what is one thing that's always kept you going? Any value that you've instilled as part of your childhood and upbringing?
Delayed gratification.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. So I grew up in a family where it's like, and our cultures, the Asian cultures, kind of like we teach that in our household that, we're not working to find happiness in the afternoon. We're not working to be happy all summer. We have to delay that gratification. So it's instilled with us that, you're going to go to school, you're going to graduate from high school, you're going to go to engineering college, or you're going to go to medical university, and one day you'll be successful. So the dream of that one day, you're going to be, and not just successful, but like the most successful, and people will be proud of you. And as your mom, as your dad will be proud of you, as your family, we're all going to look up to you, so that our cultures do a great job at helping our kids build a vision, so that's what I mean by delayed gratification. We we help our kids. And, that's one thing that was kind of like installed in me from an early age, that, I want to build a vision. I want to develop a legacy. So I can ultimately go back and help my own people, so to speak, help my own family and bring other people up with me. So that's the thing that still keeps me going, the pursuit of that vision that I've clarified for myself, that I've developed for myself. And I will make it come true one day, but we're not there yet.
Hey, it's a journey, and I'm so glad you're taking us as part of your journey. We have some live listeners tuning in, so quick reminder for you guys to drop in a quick hello and the country that you're tuning in from, so it gives us a chance to acknowledge you. As well as we have an exclusive as part of our 75th episode of Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast. Nader is giving away a free 30-minute exclusive mentoring session to one lucky listener, and he's a much sought-after guy for a mentoring session, so here's your lucky chance to grab that offer. It's going to be all yours.
Absolutely.
So Nader, thanks so much again for your time and for sharing valuable energy and resources with our listeners. So let me begin with this. You're somebody who always believes in this philosophy that there are three aspects to life. One is your social capital, which is very important to lead a happy life. Then there's the mental capital, where the fitness perspectives are really important for your journey as well. And the third dimension is the spiritual well-being. So I would like to delve deep into each one of these aspects. So let's start with the mental fitness aspect. What is one strategy that's worked for you based on your experience that you can share with our listeners?
Of course, and great question. So our mental strength is only developed through pressure, through something that is mentally challenging, right? So what we need to do then, we need to go through a process, go through a journey, take actions that would actually invoke that pressure and develops that uncomfortable mental mindset. So you might think like, everything is terrible these days, there's COVID and I'm already in a mental, in a negative mindset. Well, that's not what we really mean. Mindset and emotions are two different things. We could have all kinds of negative emotions but still have a strong mindset. So look at emotions as, the outside forces, and your mindset as how you translate them, how you respond to them. So when it comes to strengthening your mindset building and physical journeys and, putting your body through a physical challenge, they go very much hand in hand. And the main reason is that because it's available, at any point you can go through a physical activity, you can exhaust your muscle systems, you can exhaust your glycogen storage, you can exhaust what you feel is possible for you. So you can get to a point that your body is telling you that, you know what, you've done enough. And your mind's telling you, oh yeah, there's nothing more you can do. And then you realize that, oh my God, like, it's not actually my body who's given up. It's my mind that's telling me I can't go anymore. And then you push a little bit more. You're like, oh, wow, my body's responding. And you push a little bit more and it keeps hurting. And that lactic acid is going everywhere. All those muscles are burning. Joints are hurting. And you're sweating and just the most uncomfortable physical state you can be in. And if you just keep going, and you have this experience only one time, you'll realize that, wow, there's so much more in my physical gas tank than I thought was possible. So what was trying to get me to give up was actually my mind. So we have a mantra that we always say in our coaching program, that we build our body by strengthening our mind, and we build our mind by strengthening our body. Because if you do one right, the other one grows, and you do the same thing to the other one, and you're like, oh my God, with a stronger mind, now my body's getting stronger. My brain is sending these additional signals, stronger signals, and my muscles are contracting harder. So it's just it's a win-win situation,
That's very true. And I've seen your transformation in the last couple of months. And I know there was a recent post on LinkedIn where you literally, showed the physical transformation that you've been through. How is that process? Losing, a few pounds makes you feel great, but tell us about that mental stamina that helped you through that entire process to be where you are today.
Yeah, and it just leads to discipline, because I've been sharing a lot of people, actually 17 people joined the same program that I was in over the last couple of weeks that I shared those progress pictures. I tell them that it worked not because it was a tough program, not because it was a very harsh diet. And it's the tough programs and the harsh diets that get people not to stick to their routine, not to follow the procedure, not to have discipline, because the harder it is, the less results get. So why don't a lot of people get why don't everybody get results from like a ketogenic diet, or from a just pedal to the metal, go crazy, work out 10 times a day workout routine, or 2-hour sessions in the gym? It's because it's not sustainable. So if it's not sustainable, you're not going to develop the discipline to perform it on a daily basis. But the key word is just discipline. What is it? What can you do? What kind of program, what kind of process can you follow where you do not deviate from it? So my coach always says, how do you know a program works for someone? It's when they don't deviate from it. If they don't deviate from it, it means that it's actually enjoyable because they're getting results from it. And the more results from it, they believe they can do it. It just becomes a daily process, it becomes a daily program. And it has to do with the combination of what you ingest and what you exert. So the energy that you exert and the food that you ingest, and they both go hand to hand together.
That's great advice. So as you mentioned, the community is also very important. So talk to us about the social capital that has helped you in this transformation.
Oh, it's been amazing. So I started this transformation journey on August 2nd. And since August 2nd, I must have made like 50, 60 new friends. And what's amazing, and I'm totally introverted. You might think like, oh, this guy's on a podcast, he's comfortable. I'm like, no,
I never imagined you were not an extrovert.
Well, people don't see that unless like they become like close friends, so to speak, or they hang out with me and they realize that, in groups, I'm not very talkative. Right now, I have my work hat on, I've got my work boots on. So I see this as my duty, as an obligation, as a responsibility. I'm only giving back to the society, to the world right now, what I've already received. So that's what I mean. It's my obligation. It's my duty. I'm paying it back. I'm not here to gain anything. I've already gained it, So think about that as a mindset. You know what I mean? When you perform something, are you performing it? Are you doing that job to gain something from it? Or are you already in a mindset of giving, or even giving back, which is better? So I try to put myself in the giving back mindset right away. So when it comes to the society around us, the community around us, the people around us, this year has been very challenging, right? So we've lost a lot of connections, we've lost a lot of friends, we've lost a lot of communities, even going to your local temple or the mosque or the church, and just local community centers, the gyms are closed. So those regular interactions that you had with other human beings, they've been interrupted. I'm not going to say stopped because I don't believe in that, but they've been interrupted. We can't really hang out much anymore. So now we live in this virtual world. So when it comes to this virtual world, now it's even more challenging for us to connect to. There's no physical touch. It's very challenging to put a hand on someone else's shoulders, or, to comment them on what they look like, give them a compliment on how they present themselves, because everything's virtual. Everything is two-dimensional. We've literally lost the whole dimension. And the fourth dimension is just the frequency and the energy, the vibe that we get from one another. So human beings right now are going through a phase that we feel incapable of communicating the way we used to. So, and that's what inspires me, because I've been living in this virtual world for literally since 2012, 2013, but successfully coaching and teaching how to perform better in this virtual world since 2015. So I've been training for this pandemic for like 5 years. You know what I mean? So
that's amazing that you have that mental and the physical ability to deal with such situations. But tell us about the spiritual aspect of it. How has faith kept you going amidst these challenging times?
Perfectly said. So that takes us from the virtual social realm that we're in. We're trying to strive in. Sometimes we're failing or not, to the spiritual world, because now we are being given the opportunity to become more spiritual, to become more focused inwards, to make those connections. If we can't make those connections with someone externally, we have no better place to look than within, right? So I help a lot of individuals with just finding themselves comfortable being alone, So, I got married and moved to the US from Canada, from Toronto 5 years ago. And we don't have any family. We had like 2 friends that we haven't seen in a year. So, being an introvert and all that, my wife and I, so I've been finding myself in isolation, self-inflicted isolation for many years. So what I had to learn and become good at back in 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, before 2020 comes, was to just be happy alone.
And what is a strategy that's worked successfully for you to cope with loneliness? Because a lot of times we feel we need to be around with people because we attach ourselves or derive happiness from people around us. We don't look inward, as we pointed earlier in the episode. So what's one strategy you can advise our listeners with?
Daily non-negotiable tasks that would benefit you, right? And that starts from an early wake-up time. So confidence is a byproduct of what we do every day. And regardless of where you live, even if you live in a crowded community, you're going to wake up relatively alone. You might have a partner, but you're going to be up by yourself, and not every time your partner gets up with you to do team events, right? So you need to find a way to make yourself proud from the time you wake up, and that starts by waking up earlier than you normally would. Because
what time do you wake up?
Well, I've graduated up to 3 a.m., but I started with 6, and then 5, and then 4:30, and then 3:30, and then 3.
What time do you sleep?
8. Latest 9.
You get a good 8 to 9 hours of sleep.
I get my 6 to 7 hours of sleep, which is more than enough. Yeah. And, starts from that daily meditation. So I follow a guided meditation, so you don't have to be a guru on day number 1. I've been meditating for many years. It's always been a guided meditation, and it does the job. It helps you focus. It helps you go inward, and it helps you just connect with your own soul and just feel alive and feel capable, because that's all it is. Meditation, or like even praying, it might be intimidating, but when you do it, you realize how empowering it is, because you empowered yourself. You don't need anybody else to help you. If somebody else empowers you, you owe it to the other person. But meditation is fantastic. So starts with that meditation, go into reading some powerful quotes, put your mind in the right place, followed by 20-minute to 30-minute physical exercise. It could be walking on a treadmill, push-ups, sit-ups, something very simple, and then goes right into reading or audiobooks on Audible. So because when you exercise and you break a little sweat, your body is just like open, receptive to information, to learning. It's just in the primal state. So you get into reading, you get into studying a little bit, and then right after that, journaling. So right after that, just dumping your thoughts, dumping your ideas, and you'll just be coming up with amazing ideas in the morning. After a workout session, after a light reading session, you're just you're ready to write a book, really. You know what I mean? So and that's actually called the 20-20-20 formula by Robin Sharma, and he's my idol. I know you're going to ask that question from me later on. But
he's an amazing guy. I would love to have him on my show. I follow him on Instagram.
Oh, he's amazing. I love Robin. I mean, his book, The 5 a.m. Club, changed my life a few years ago. So, I fell off the 5 a.m. wagon, and then when I started this journey back 5 months ago, I went from waking up with no alarm clock to 6, quickly to 5, back to 5, and back to the 20-20-20 formula, and then just 4:30, 3:30, and then 3.
Hey, you could write a book as part of the 3 a.m. club. I see that happening.
I'm working on a book, maybe not called the 3 a.m. club, but it's just great because it's quiet. I get my work done, get my meditation done right away. I go into journaling, audio. It's just that
Right.
that formula is still there, just a little bit earlier in the day.
These are good strategies. To reiterate to our listeners, it's putting your mind, body, soul into a place where it can perform at its best, and you'll have to be that facilitating mechanism, right? Like waking up early, spending time with meditation, journaling. These are strategies that have been out there, but the biggest challenge for us as humans is how do we implement, how do we take that first step to put ourselves out there. And I followed some of these strategies, meditating, journaling, and some of those days are very beautiful. I think that inner peace that you mentioned comes from some of these strategies where you reflect on life, which something is, it's very hard, just taking a step back and pausing.
It's very difficult. I guess the final piece of the puzzle is the community, is the support system. So if you wake up tomorrow, or if it's a Saturday, or if it's a Sunday, you're like, okay, well, it's Sunday, I don't have to do it today. Or Monday comes up, you just had a tough weekend, or you're going through some relationship problems, or you had a fight with your spouse, or your kids they were crying all night, or your dog didn't let you sleep. And those are kind of like the external events that push you puts you off your program, off your process, and then you fall off the wagon. So if you fall off, it's going to be challenging. Even for me, it's going to be challenging for everyone to get back on that plan, back on that process. So that's why I owe my consistency to the community I'm in. The reason why, right? Because they're always there for me. Whenever I need help, I can go there. I know they're going to be there for me. I can wake up on my own. I can do everything on my own, but the blanket that covers everything, brings everything back together, is having that community. So part of the community I'm building for on engineeryourmission.com is exactly that. One of the 3 pillars is the community, is the social wellness. Because if we have that social wellness, then just look at it as the foundation. Then on top of that, we can be strong as an individual by developing our spiritual wellness, and then we can have the right mindset. So whatever external pressure, whenever external villains come to us, we can react to it the right way and not let them, bring us down.
That's very true. How do we face external pressures and not use it as an excuse from being the best, happiest version of ourselves? That needs a lot of mindset shift, right?
It's just how we react. Whatever happens to us happens to all of us. You have a choice. You have a choice to react to it a certain way. So that's why I'm almost done reading the book Emotional Agility by Dr. Susan David. So
that's a great book.
Yeah, it's amazing. Even just if you guys are watching this, just go and watch her TED Talk. Just Google her name. She's awesome. But like she says that all emotions are great. It's just it's a choice to call it a good emotion or a bad emotion. She talks about, anger, sadness, anxiety. These are all the universe sending you a signal. If something makes you angry, well, what's the opposite of angry? It's giving you a signal to come out of that mental or spiritual or even physical, realm. It's a good signal. If you say, oh, anger is bad, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? Sadness is just giving you a signal that, hey, that event that happened that made you sad, avoid it, avoid it so you can go towards happiness, towards something that does not take you back into that state. So I love the way she describes emotions, because it makes you more agile. It makes you, think on your feet.
Very true. And, she brings up another interesting point where we have to sit through our emotions, because most of the times we just deflect our emotions. But as a human being, you need to go through all these emotions to live a fulfilled life. But how you respond to it, I think that's where the key lies in terms of, being successful, in terms of embracing that emotion.
It's just, you have to comprehend it. It's very challenging to have appreciation for sadness or anger.
Very true.
Like, how can you be happy, for lack of a better term,
sad, right?
For being sad,
Right. Yeah, it's more like a mixed bag, but just feeling grateful about a lot of things in life. I think journaling, meditating puts us into that perspective that these are part of life, and everybody goes through it. You're not an exception. You're not the only human on earth who's going through these different difficult emotions.
Yeah, like I used to deflect all these things, with all my early year coaches. They were talking about, as everybody talks about meditation and journaling and reading. I was like, oh no, that's not for me.
Yeah,
That's
especially
what
when you're
like,
in your 20s, right? Those are not
you
the things that you
know,
want to practice. You feel
it's like
that's
old
way
people do
for a
that,
different
I was
crowd.
like, but it's just because I didn't understand them. I didn't comprehend them. No one was there to show me how to read or what to read. No one was there to show me how to meditate or what to meditate on. No one was there to show me how to develop, and that's why, again, this social aspect is so important for me, because I'm now there. I'm putting myself out there. Hey, you don't know how to journal. You don't know how to write stuff down and dump your brain on a piece of paper. Well, let me show you. It's like super easy. Like, as long as you're open to it, let me show you how to journal. Let me show you how to read and what to read. And let me show you how to now come here and find yourself in a safe zone when you can tell your stories. And whenever you made a stupid mistake, what you think is a stupid mistake, at least you have a support system where you can come in and say, you know what, guys, I made the mistake, or I knew I was supposed to do this, but I didn't, or I knew that when my wife said that, or when my husband said that, I shouldn't have treated her or treated him this way, but I did. How can I make sure I don't react to that situation ever again like that? That's powerful. That's if you can find yourself in a community where you can come in and say, you know what, I got drunk last night. I knew I shouldn't have. How do I make sure this doesn't happen again? Or I reacted in a negative way towards a colleague or towards a friend. How do I control those emotions? How do I develop a mindset that like you said, the perfect word, grateful, that is more grateful and it embraces that challenge. Lets it come in. I can sit on it. I can say, you know what, let me sleep on this. Let me meditate on this. Let me put myself in a positive mental attitude. So when I make a decision on this, I make a positive decision. Because anytime you're in a negative mental attitude, you're in a negative mental state, regardless of how much you think, regardless of how much you try to come up with a solution, because you're mentally in a negative state, you will come up with a negative answer, which is normally to deflect or get rid of it, or just treat that situation or that person in not a positive way. But all you got to do is just like, you know what, give it some time, or get immediately into action towards creating a positive mental attitude. Then go back to that conversation and look for a solution.
That's great advice. But let me ask you this. You've coached several people and you've had successful, strategies that you've shared with them. But going back to your life experiences, back in 2013, you pulled yourself from an emotional struggle through anxiety and depression. How do you see yourself now that you look back? You're in a much better, positive state of mind. What advice would you give to your younger self who was going through all of that?
Oh, good question. I don't think I would change anything, in terms of advice. I would just say don't overreact, because I certainly overreacted. I got into this relationship in 2008. So in 2012, end of 2012, and we kind of like used to live together, my ex-girlfriend and I. So very dysfunctional relationship, right? So, but we used to live together, constantly fighting, constantly breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, getting back together. So end of August, September 2012 comes, and this third and last breakup for me, I overreacted. So all I should have done was to kind of like, you know what, just move back to your parents' house, whatever, just take some time to gradually depart. As again, we had a 3-bedroom furnished house, cars, everything was like intermingled, completely embedded to each other. So rather than me just like gradually disassemble this Lego house that we were building, this house, I kind of like treated it as a house of cards, I just like smashed it and the whole thing came down. So, and I did that by leaving everything behind. I kind of like said, okay, everything's yours. And I purchased a $270 one-way ticket to the Caribbean, to the Dominican Republic. I rented a villa on the beach for 6 months. I prepaid it. And I just left. And my plan was to never come back. I just didn't want to, because I had at that point no good relationship with my parents, brother, sister, friends. I had lost all my friends. I didn't have any other friend than her, right? So I kind of like left. I said, you know what, this is not it for me. I'm just going to go and live the island life, and whatever happens to me happens. So I left on November 28th, 2012. 4 days after that was my birthday. And it was basically constant partying and drinking and drugs all the way to December 31st. December 31st came and I hadn't slept in 3 days. And it was just a wild party night and, hard drugs and lots of alcohol. And on the morning after that, I just left this place that we were in, this house party, at like 5 a.m. in the morning. And I just like walked home, and I had my buddy, like, whom we weren't really in the best of relationships at the time. So I was fast walking ahead of him. And this is January 1st, 2013, in the beautiful Dominican Republic. But it's storm season, it's storm season. So very crazy rain coming down, windy. And the area that we were in, it wasn't like a hangout beach area. It wasn't a sandy beach at all. It was corals. It's actually the city of Cabarete in Dominican Republic, which is among the top 5 or top 3 windsurfing capitals of the world. So they're known for, like 10, 15 foot waves. You don't go for a swim in the water. So like nobody ever goes into swim in the water in the area. So I was just tired, I was tired. I was in a completely, fully negative state of mind. And I didn't want to live anymore, honestly. I just went right into the water. The scariest things, like 10, 12 foot waves, at least at that time, coming. So all I remember was just like one wave hit me, because I was just like going inside. I had one direction, that was to go into the ocean. Just that one wave hit me. And yeah, I mean, I must have hit the water. I'm getting goosebumps, sorry. I must have hit the water, and I have scars on my left knee and left ankle. So I blanked out. I mean, I passed out. And I know that guy that I was with, my friend at the time, and the security guard, apparently, they had pulled me out of the water, helped me come out. And I kind of like gained consciousness upstairs. And like I couldn't walk for 2 days, and just, I remember sitting on this chair, this kind of like extended chair that I could kind of like open my knees and my legs up on by the door, by the balcony. And just like, I looked outside for like 2 days. I literally didn't say a word, so it was crazy. It was crazy. Cause like I was telling someone, God just didn't want me to go that way that day. It was like, I had to find a bigger purpose. I had to like do something with what I had gathered through all this time. And that was just a turning point for me, that, if it's not your time, you can't push it. You can't just go and, try to change something that you're just not happy with. Change has to be made inside, again, externally, there's a lot of things we feel like we can change by just changing the external.
Just changing the place, that's not going to make any difference. Change has to come internally, right? And as you're sharing this experience, like I could only visualize what it must have been going through that experience, both physically, emotionally, mentally, and trying to figure out what's your purpose of life. But I'm so glad you've overcome all those barriers, because of the strong intuition that you had that there's more to life. And, minor crisis cannot deviate you from the larger path that is destined for you. What advice would you give for a lot of us, especially because of COVID? You're sitting at home. There is no demarcation between work life and, your personal life. And everybody's going through feelings of loneliness, questioning, how long this is going to last, and being overwhelmed, being stressed. What is one advice would you give for people to start looking at life from a different perspective?
Yeah, I said, and you said it right. You got to change your perspective towards life. Life is not about you. Life is about people around you, people near and dear to you. So you will have to find a deep sense of meaning, a purpose in life that's beyond you. Because if you just live life for making your life more meaningful and making your living more meaningful and a purpose that serves you, you're going to continue being miserable, and you'll only partake in the pleasures of life. But if you embark on this journey of just being a humble servant and find other people that you can serve, you can support. I mean, just like Zig Ziglar said, you can have anything you want in life if you just help other people get what they want. So from the moment you open your eyes, it's not about you. Life doesn't happen around your circumstances. We are insignificant. I am insignificant. I will only give meaning to my life if I can help other people find meaning in theirs.
That's a very interesting and important way of looking at life. As I reflect on my journey through this podcast, as I resonate with your analogy, helping others by spotlighting their stories, by helping them achieve their passion, that gives me a lot of gratification. Like every day when I look at, here's the impact when somebody says, I listen to your podcast every weekend, and that gives me a lot of inspiration. And there was another recent podcaster and a guest of mine who said, "You're my role model, Priyanka." And I was like, wow, nobody's ever said that to me. But there are small ways in which you inspire people without even knowing them. And I truly agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you're doing a fantastic job. Your 75th episode.
Thank you.
You might not know it, but people will log in. You might have like a handful of people live, but this video will continue to live on. And one thing that resonates higher than this video communication is just really the energy you're putting out there, because the other day on Friday, I did another podcast on the Blue Falcon podcast. And the guest, Bobby, he was saying that, we were talking the same conversation. We're talking about the social wellness and how we're all away. We can't really hang out with each other. And he made a comment as to, it's challenging to make each other, we're talking about body language, and to make each other, really feel that energy while we're talking on Zoom. We're doing a Zoom similar to what you're doing. And I said, you know what? It's actually possible, because you have given me goosebumps at least a couple of times. I mean, you did too, by asking me those questions. You're like, I'm getting this energy, I'm getting this love and attention, and this appreciation and the gratitude that you're having for, let's say, me or my story, and like your audience, and the gratefulness that we have for their challenges, because we understand what they're going through. People feel that, just like you and I are talking. It could be just you and I and nobody else here. Everybody else who's watching us, they're resonating. They're hearing our stories. They're thinking about the battles they've had. I talk about, my experience, with just kind of like drugs, alcohol, and, bad family relationships, or, my girlfriend that, drove me crazy, or, the person that I drove crazy,
I'm glad you said it was both ways.
Oh, it is both ways. It's always both ways. If anything, it was more my fault for just leaving, I admitted that. It's like, I just like crashed everything down. Why did I react it that way? You know what I mean? I could have just do it like a civilized person would do, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to go party in the Dominican Republic. You do whatever you want. That's basically what I did,
When you reflect back, you realize a lot of things that probably in our 20s, we don't reflect on, which is, we seek for external happiness where, you just go to the beach, or, you sit in that beach house. And I think there was a recent post that you mentioned on LinkedIn where sunshine and the beach is not going to make a difference. I mean, obviously a change of place might help you, be in a much more, peaceful state of mind, but the change has to come from within you. And until that happens, surrounding yourself with new people or new places isn't going to really create that difference in terms of who you are as a person.
Yeah. And my post today was that it actually makes it worse, because adding more distraction, you're actually adding more wood to the fire.
Right. And you're not actually addressing the inner issue. You're
just covering it more, So
right.
if the sun was coming out, you're just like putting more stuff on it. If the light was coming out, and you're getting to that point, because every day, like when you're dealing with a challenge, you're under so much pressure, you're about to crack, you're about to break through, or like my coach would say, you're about to level up, and then you go outside for a cigarette, and you're like, oh, you just lost your opportunity. You smoke something, or you take a painkiller, or you drink something, or you're having this challenging conversation with your spouse, and it's tough, it's challenging. You guys are not arguing, but like you're biting your lip, you're not saying anything wrong, and then you say something wrong. It's like, oh, you ruined it. All you could have done all you had to do is just like maintain that respect, maintain that love, maintain that open communication, be honest and respectful, so you can resolve that argument, rather than just throw your hands up and be like, you know what, whatever you want, whatever you say. It's like, oh, you just game over.
Right. And I'm so glad you're sharing these life lessons, because it's very important, be it in a personal setting or a professional setting. We put these toolkits at the back of our mind, so we know how not to overreact, and how do we embrace a conversation, embrace a situation in the most amicable way with good demeanor. That's very crucial. Now, I want to pivot to another aspect of your life that you do a very great job at, which is coaching STEM engineers, helping people find what they're destined for, from a job perspective. What are some job search strategies that you can share with our listeners? Can you just give our key 3 quick tips for us?
100%. So the number one mistake everyone makes, that includes me when I started job searching, and this is not because there's no better ways of job searching. I primarily blame the media advertising companies. It's primarily driven by them, the publication companies that make their money from advertising. I don't want to name any names, but we have all seen these TV commercials that there's someone working, and then they disappear. And they're like, oh, what happened? It's like, oh, he got a job. What did they do? They went to this website. It's like, really? And so they're kind of like putting these things in our mind that if we go to our website, like we instantaneously we'll leave this job and we'll go to this other job, so you just click, hired, and those are the steps that they lay out for us. And next to that, the university and career council offices, they take the same advice from TV commercials. They get the same thing that used to work 30 years ago when companies were still advertising in print, in like magazines to hire. They would feed kids that are coming out of school today. So, which leads to the number one mistake, which is starting your job search from google.com. Electrical engineer jobs in Washington, enter. You're like, oh, this website comes up. Oh, cool. There is like 10,317 jobs in Washington for engineers. I'm going to start apply. And believing like I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get an interview, at least like 2 interviews by the end of the day. I spoke with someone today, Venkat, and he actually tracked everything. He applied to over 1,000 jobs, just over 1,000. He said he got 994 declines.
And what is a strategy that you would advise instead?
So the first strategy is to stop doing that. Stop applying online. Applying online doesn't work. So I share statistics. I share like labor market statistics in terms of what percent of jobs are being advertised, which is this year is less than 10% of jobs are actually being advertised. Traditionally speaking, maximum 20% of jobs, they get to a point that the companies will actually get to advertise them. So out of every 10 jobs that are available in the market, you and I can only find 2 of them, 1 or 2 of them on the internet.
So now, where are the 8 other jobs?
The businesses find people for them without need to advertise.
So how do we position ourselves so these businesses can find us? Is it through networking, or what's that strategy that you would advise?
Through networking, because through online applications, through website-driven applications, the success rate of that has always been less than 5%. Last year, it was between 0.3 and 0.8%. This year, I'm willing to put my life on it, because we have statistically, mathematically more unemployed. The mathematics are pretty simple. Numbers don't lie. It's going to be like 0.1%, 0.2%. So out of every 1,000 applications, 1 is contacted. So like especially if you're in STEM and you're good with numbers, why would you want to do something that has a 99.9% chance of failure?
But that's the traditional way of looking at it, right? We have all these different job platforms where you apply. So you're saying networking is key. What are some strategies to network effectively?
100%, because I don't care if it's traditional. I mean, we've established that's traditional. Traditional doesn't work, so you could be in love with something. If it doesn't work, don't do it again, so that's step number one. I have to always clarify that for everyone, because otherwise they feel like, okay, well, networking is right. You're right. Everything you say is cool, but applying online is easier. I'm going to go do the easy stuff. If they don't understand that the effectiveness percentages, so 0.1% versus 20%, 25% response rate when you're contacting a hiring manager directly. And the best platform for it, which has been for many years, is LinkedIn, is the platform we're having this conversation on. We've established ourselves on. I've been on LinkedIn for 12 years and I don't own any stocks at LinkedIn. I've never worked for LinkedIn. They do not sponsor me. Nothing, it's just
the power of the platform, right? I've been an early adopter of LinkedIn, and you see the power of the platform, connecting with people, connecting with opportunities. So let's say we start networking, for example, on a platform like LinkedIn. What are some other strategies you would suggest for your job search after that step?
Yeah, so there's a 3-step formula that I take everyone through. Number one, you need to make sure you choose a company that's growing. You definitely need a LinkedIn premium account so you can get the premium business insights. The premium business insights shows you the headcount growth in a company month by month, department per department over the last 2 years. So you need to individually filter the companies you're targeting based on ones who have at least maintained headcount growth or ideally increased. That's step number one. It has to be in your industry, one industry. Diversifying does not work. You have to take the sniper rifle, the sniper approach. That's number one. Number two, you need to identify the hiring manager. Nobody else cares about you besides the person you're going to be reporting to directly. Nobody cares. It's not their job. Would you care about someone? Would you refer someone who has nothing to do with your job? You wouldn't. So you need to identify the right hiring manager. Third is the message that you send to them. So there's absolutely no one message. There's no one magic statement or a powerful phrase or a persuasive paragraph. Nothing would work. It has to be a process. So I help people write a campaign, a message campaign. Just like you get these emails that come to you, there's a process to it. They know, that business knows that over the next 8 weeks, they're going to send you an email every week. And they're going to start pitching you their program or their product in week number 7, week number 8. They've built and established that relationship with you. There's an established dialogue. So that's exactly what I teach them. It's a 7-step, 7-message campaign. We start with an invitation. So we invite, connect, we introduce ourselves, and we do 5 follow-ups. In those follow-ups, we have to establish fit, make sure there's chemistry between us. So we share with them, why is it that we're interested in their companies? We let them know that we are familiar, we're aware of the potential challenges they're facing as they're going through this economy, as they're dealing with developing their product, offering their service. We start sharing ideas and insights to solidify the fact that, hey, I can also offer you solutions. And then we begin to share experiences of how we've done similar things in the past. And in message number 7 or follow-up number 5, that's when we invite them to speak with us. So it's the formula, it's the framework that establishes that trust and gets them to actually want to respond back to you. You have to prove yourself. You have to sell yourself. And that cannot be done in one message. It has to be a series.
Thanks for sharing that success framework. I think that's an eye-opener for a lot of our listeners. On that note, we have a fun rapid-fire round for you. Are you ready for it?
Let's do it.
Awesome. You tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the following. Who's your role model?
Oh, Robin Sharma. Yeah. So I'm just going through some of his trainings right now. He's offering some of his trainings for free for someone who's interested. If you just Google him, you can see him. Follow him on Instagram. Watch him every day. Study him. Get the 5 a.m. club. He's changed my life. He will change yours too.
Hey, Robin Sharma is great, so go ahead and check him out. How do you define success?
So I wrote a long answer for this.
You tell me in one word.
Yeah, so it's really, I guess we already discussed it, because it's about success is when I consistently help other people. So when the society as a whole thinks of a problem, I'm attached, my name and my brand is attached to it. So I always recommend people when they're networking, I say, don't talk about yourself, talk about the problems that you solve. So I don't want to develop a legacy around my name or my brand name or my company name. I want to develop a legacy around the problems that I've solved and attach myself there. So if I can be the guy who keeps solving that problem, I'm happy, I'm successful.
That's awesome. What does happiness mean to you?
Inner peace and contentment.
I love that.
That's as simple as it, because you can be happy inside a jail cell. If you can be happy inside in pure isolation, then no one can take it away from you.
Very true. What is one fun thing about Nader, which is exclusive to our Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast listeners?
Oh, it's a funny one. So I used to work at a coffee shop bakery for many years. So all kinds of positions, but for several years I was an assistant baker.
Cool. You have nice
on my own.
skills.
So I've got some crazy baking skills.
That's awesome. Hey, perfect for the holiday season.
It absolutely is. So one of the things that I always did was, like bake and cook for, office potlucks. And, that's how I capture people's hearts, through their stomach.
That's amazing. And through your personal stories as well. So that goes hand in hand. One final question. What is your native language? And one word to describe yourself in it.
My native language is Farsi that we speak in Iran. So I thought about this, but I just want to share what my name means, Nader, which means rare, and I also specifically use this because I wanted to share again, another philosophy, because this is something that comes up that everybody struggles with, which is talking about themselves, or someone might have just thought, oh, that's he's bragging about himself. He's saying he's rare, but it's not bragging if you've earned it. I wanted to get that out of the way. So if you're struggling, you go into an interview, you're struggling to talk about yourself, just ask yourself, have I earned the right to say this, to say the great things that I've done, that I have the skills and that I can help you? And I'm sure 9 out of 10 times, that you've earned it. You've done the hard work, you've tried hard. So don't feel bad about talking about yourself, whatever your name means. Actually tell people what your name means, because then they're going to remember you based on that unique experience they had with you, because almost nobody gives enough respect to their name. I used to be one of them. I actually changed my name to Trevor back in 2011 because I was so lost that I thought people can't say my name, so I have to westernize my name. So I changed my name for a year. My dad did the same thing. He went from Reza to Ross, and he changed it back to Reza. We were all going through these mental difficulties. So my name is a special thing for me, just like your name should be a special thing for you. And talk to others about what your name means and fully own it, because you've earned it.
I know, and that brings your authentic self as well. It's been such a pleasure, Nader, having you on the show. And you're one of those rare gems. And I'm so glad we've crossed our paths and we could share some of these valuable philosophies on life, on job search and careers as part of our 75th episode. So thank you so much.
Of course.
Do you have any parting thoughts to our listeners?
Just wanted to thank you and everyone who's on this call. The Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast is amazing. I've joined at least 2-3 conversations. I've listened in, I've participated, I've asked questions, and the value you put out there is fantastic. I'm humbled to be here, It's just a good opportunity for me to come out here, especially in the holiday season this month, which is a historic month for me, as I reflect back on, what kind of a mental state I was in just a few years ago. I know that a lot of people out there are going through similar challenges right now because it's the holiday season. You can't meet your family. You have to do everything remotely. You may have lost your job. You can't provide, and maybe provide a good, food on the table, as simple as that. And if you're a mom or a dad, this is very, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just saying this stuff because I'm not a mom or a dad myself, but I listen to a lot of them and I know what they're going through. I have people cry to me on the phone, so I feel their pain. And if I can just come out here and just be like, hey, I'm here, I want to help you, I want to just listen to you, because some people just want people to listen to them and not even say a word.
It's just
I'm
a
here to
support
listen
system,
to
right?
you. That's it.
Thank you so much, Nader. And
thank you for doing this. Yeah.
Thank you for your kind words about the podcast as well. And to our listeners, we are giving away our 12 days of Christmas giveaways. And as part of that, a free mentoring session with Nader is up for grabs. So we'll continue promoting it. So drop in a comment and we'll have the contest continue as part of our giveaways as well. Nader, thank you so much. I've enjoyed getting to know you, and I look forward to your continued success, be it with the book, be it with engineering a mission to help other people succeed. And I wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Nader. And to our listeners, key takeaway on our 75th milestone episode of Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast with Nader. One is embrace your life, whatever that wave could look like, because you can definitely surf it with the right attitude. And two, for job search, networking is key. So surround yourself with the right kind of people and reach out to your community on an ongoing basis to land your dream job. And three, and the most important of all, look inwards for peace, for happiness, and only you can make yourself happy to begin with. And you can spread the joy and vibes as part of this holiday season to your loved ones as well. So on that note, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And do continue to look out for our LinkedIn post on your 12 days of free giveaways. We have some amazing books and amazing mentoring sessions with fabulous guests of ours. And do continue to subscribe to us as if you're watching this on YouTube. Hit that subscribe, hit that like button for us. And if you're watching on LinkedIn, continue following us, me, Priyanka Komla, as well as our Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast page. Thank you so much, Nader. And I look forward to your book, hopefully in the near future as well. And I wish you the very, very best.
Thank you. Likewise.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.